Hello and welcome to the relearning for surface area and volume. Please make sure you put your name and the date as well as your class period on your sheet. A prism is a figure where all the sides are rectangles. Now I'm not talking about the bases. The bases can be different shapes. This is a very poor drawing, but all the sides on this are supposed to be rectangles, and the front and the back are the bases, and they are rectangles as well. So we actually could call the bottom a rectangle and the base. However, looking at this one that I've drew over here, this is a triangular prism. Now it's a prism because all the sides are rectangles, but the bases, this one is laying down, are triangles. They are a different shape than the sides. We're looking at the sides. If we were to put this and face it up, it would look like a triangle with long sides on it, and they would be all rectangles with the top being also a triangle. A cylinder is the only one that uses the pi formula, and it has a circle at the top and the bottom, and it also is very tall. You can think of this as a soda can. You could also think of it as a Pringles can, something along those lines where we're having a circle at the bottom and the top. We could lay it down, and it still would be a cylinder. A pyramid is different from a prism. It can have any kind of shape for a bottom, but everything comes to a point. It's a triangle at the top. So that's a prism. All sides are triangles. It can have a triangle base, but the sides are what are we looking for in here. Even though the base happens to be a triangle, the sides are all triangle, which makes us a pyramid. And that helps us decide the formulas. So looking at the area of a quadrilateral, just putting this on here to be complete, a square, rectangle, and parallelogram, you should know this very well, and it's an area of the base times the height. Some call it the length times width. We talk about the area of the base times, the base times the height. The circle is pi r squared, where the radius, if you remember, is from the center of the circle to the side. It's half the diameter equals the radius. And it's from the middle of the circle out. That's the value we want to use for our radius here. So there's the circumference, it's 2 pi r, 2 pi r. So that is it looks very similar, but it's very different. Remember, our units per area are squared. Our formula is squared. Circumference does not have square units, and therefore it is 2 pi r. The volume of a prism is the area of the base times the height. Area of the base times the height. We look at this here, we're going to carry that idea of the area of the base times the height for the cylinder. Same principle, area of the base times the height, area of the base times the height. And the volume is also the area of the base times the height, but it's different because it comes to a point at the top when we have it here. That means we're going to divide that by 3. How it works, if you have a question about that, go back and look at the Hapara and the video that I uploaded that explains that. But you need to memorize that for volume, all of them are the area of the base times the height. The volume of the pyramid has to be divided by 3, not 2, but 3. A lot of people did it by 2 because they were thinking of it as a triangle. Okay, looking at this here, giving a couple of examples in here, the surface area is the outside area. It's only the outside of our box. We can think about it as a net if we wanted to, but if we want to look at this, we can see a pattern. So if we're looking at it as a net, this right here that we have is this on our triangle, on our net. And I'm going to show you a pattern that'll be a little bit helpful, more helpful for you. So we have our bottom here. If we shade that in, we have 5 times 3. 5 times 3. That's our bottom. Our side right here is 3 times 4. 3 times 4. See how we're looking at this 5 times 3. We're taking our 3, carrying it down here. 3 times 4. And then if you guess, we'll take our 4, put it right here. And the third number we're going to put in here is our 5. 5 times 3. 3 times 4. 4 times 5. 5 times 3. 3 times 4. 4 times 5. Taking this is 15, this is 12, this is 20. So what are we going to do? We need to add surface area. Area starts with an A. We have to add the values together. So we take 15 plus 12 plus 20 plus 15 plus 12 plus 20. We add those all up. So we have two 15s, top and bottom, front and back, and side to side. Two 15s, two 12s, two 20s. This will give us our 94 centimeters squared, which is our unit for our surface area. Looking at the triangular prism, there's a similar pattern. Remember, a prism has a rectangle side, and each of the sides of our rectangle form a pyramid when they're putting all together. So our base is a triangle, but our sides are rectangle. So our formula for triangle is the area of the base times the height divided by 2. Here's our 4 and 3. 4 times 3 divided by 2 gives us 6. Now we know that because it comes down into the center. And it forms a right angle right there. That's what it's showing us in here. These are the connecting parts of our base and our height. That's our front, our back, base is also 6. They're exactly the same. So how do you do the sides? We're looking for a pattern and a helpful shortcut for this. So we have 3 sides. We have a 4 side, we have a 5 side right here. We're looking at the sides, not the height, but the side. And we have another 5 side. 4, 5, 5 are the sides of our triangle. Those are all connected by our height that goes back here. The length of our rectangle. So this is 4 times 15, 5 times 15, and 5 times 15, because we have 2 5s. So why, when we're looking at this, even though we see a triangle here, we need to look at the shape over here, which is a rectangle. So that's not going to be divided by 2. That's going to be just multiplied straight up base times height. So we have 4 times 15 is 60. 5 times 15 is 75. And 5 times 15, again, is 75. So we add 6 plus 6 plus 60 plus 75 plus 75. 6 plus 6 plus 60 plus 75 plus 75, and that all equals 222 centimeters squared. So don't get confused when we see a triangle here. The sides are rectangles because we're dealing with a prism, and that's how we know. A pyramid, remember, comes to a point. All right, for a cylinder, for a surface area, this is one of the ones that are a little bit trickier than when we're putting this all together. First thing we need to do is we need to say to ourselves, surface area, add all the sides. A for area, add all the sides. So we have if we were to pull this apart and put our net together, we have a circle at the top, a circle at the bottom, and then we have a rectangle in the middle. If we were to unroll this paper and lay it flat, we would have a rectangle. This right here is our 12. We're going to come back to that in a minute. So at the top, our top base is a circle. So it's pi r squared. Pi r squared. In here, we're given the diameter. So the radius is 4. The radius equals 4. It's half of 8. This is 3.14 times 4 times 4, which gives us our 50.24. That's our area of our top. Our area of our bottom is exactly the same, 50.24. They're identical. So the trick on this whole thing is to figure out what is the length of this line right here. What is that length? Well, that turns out to be 2 pi r. The length of that is 2 pi r. So let's figure that out. 2 pi r is 2 times 3.14 times 4, and that whole business gives us 25.12. 25.12. That's our length. So this is 25.12. So to get the rectangle, we take 25.12 and we multiply it by 12. And that gives us a very large number of 301.44. So what are we going to add together? The area of the top, which is 50.24, plus the bottom, 50.24, plus the sides, 301.44. Add those all up, and we get 401.92 inches squared. Okay. Lastly, we're going to look at here, and we're going to do the area of the pyramid. Now, a lot of people have seen this in here, and they're thinking, oh, I see those triangles. I know I have to divide by 2. You do, for the sides. But the base is a rectangle. We're looking at this as a rectangle on the bottom. So the area of the base is 12 times 8. That is a simple, straight up rectangle that we have. And 12 times 8 is 96. Now looking at the sides in here, if we were to pull this apart, we'd see our rectangle on the bottom. We'd have a triangle on the back that folds out, triangle on the side that folds down. As a matter of fact, the definition of a pyramid is that everything has a triangle around the sides. So let's take a look at the triangles that we see. This, we'll call it on the right. The right triangle is 8 times 12. And if you can see that, that's on an angle to help us to see that that's different than our height in the center. So we're just looking at that slant height. And because it's a triangle, this one we have to divide by 2. 8 times 12 is 96. 96 divided by 2 is 48. The one on the left is the exact same. The one on the front is 10 times 12. 10 times 12 divided by 2, because it's a triangle. We're differentiating that. This is the one we're looking at right here, the one that would fold down right here. So 10 times 12 is 120, divided by 2 is 60. And the back triangle is exactly the same. So we're going to add these all up. 96 plus 48 plus 48 plus 60 plus 60, and that will all equal 312 meters squared. 312 meters squared. So don't get confused. Just go quietly and just simply begin to think it through. Remember, surface area, add all the sides. Okay, looking at volume. In the volume, we are putting together. These are a lot more straightforward. So we're doing the area of the base times the height. In here, we can call either, because we have a rectangular pyramid, we can call the 10 times 5 a base or the 5 times 6. I'm going to call the 5 times 6. So the area of the base is 5 times 6, which is 30. And then we're going to take the area of the base, which is 30, times 10, because that's our height right here, if we call it that. Rectangle, we have a little bit of options. That gives us 300 inches cubed. That means that if we had 300 cubes and we had a box with these dimensions, we could fill it up completely, very nicely, evenly, all the way to the top. Now for the triangular prism, we're going to look at it here, the area of the base, which is our triangle. The area of the base is 6 times 5, and because it's a triangle, we have to divide by 2. This is 30 divided by 2, which is 15. Now we don't need both bases. The formula tells us that it's the area of the base times the height. Not two bases. We don't have to worry about that. We just need one base and then the height. So we take 15 times 12. 15 times 12 gives us 180 centimeters cubed. The volume of the cylinder is exactly the same. We need to find the area of the base times the height. The base here is a circle. So the area of the base, because it's a circle, it's pi r squared. You should be getting very, very good at the area of a circle. 3.14. Now in the radius, again, we have the diameter here. So the radius is going to be 17, half of 34. 34 divided by 2. So we take 17 times 17. And don't get confused by the large numbers that we have in here. Just is the way it is, 907.46. Because we're dealing with volume, we don't need to worry about the circumference. We're just going to take the area of the base and we're going to multiply it by our height. So our area of the base is, the area of the base is 907.46. We're going to multiply that by our height. And our height is just how tall this is, which is 27. We're going to multiply those together and you get a really humongous number, 24501.42. But it is what it is. So that's our volume. Now make sure that it's meters cubed. And when we're looking at this in here, we have one area of the base. Very common mistake is people want to do both top and bottom, and you don't need to do that. You just need to, the way it works out is you do the area of the base times the height, and that's it. Looking at the volume of a pyramid, remember this is a different shape. This has a rectangle on the bottom, but there's no rectangle on the top. We have our triangles on the side. In the volume of the pyramid, we need this value in here from the point directly down. We need that value right there. In regards to this is perpendicular to our bottom, which gives us our height. So it's our area of the base times the height divided by 3. So if we find our base, which is right here, the area of the base is 4 times 10, which gives us 40. And we're going to just multiply that by our height, which is 6. 40 times 6, which gives us 240. Now, because we have a different shape in here, the way it works out, this is the one that you're going to have to memorize, is divided by 3, and that gives us 80 centimeters cubed. 80 centimeters cubed. So we take the area of the base, which is 40, times the height, and divide it by 3. When we look at the next one, it doesn't matter the shape of the base. The shape of the base happens to be a triangle here, a right triangle. So our area of our base is 6 times 8, and because we have a triangle, it's divided by 2. So we have 48 divided by 2, which will give us our 24. That's the area of our base. When we're looking for volume, we're doing the area of the base times the height. Our base area is 24, and multiply that by 10. And we're going to divide that whole thing by 3 for pyramids, which is the way the formula works. So that's, again, 240 divided by 3. And it ended up working out this to be the same way, where we have 80 inches cubed. Just happens to be the same. Now in here, in C, I wanted to include this in here. This is a great picture which shows us the shading of our right triangle. We are given the slant height, which is 50. And in here, we need to find the actual height. And you can see that this makes a right triangle. When we have a right triangle, we can use our Pythagorean theorem to find our value. Our C is always our length, our hypotenuse, which is opposite our right triangle. So this is 50 squared. The tall one here is A squared. And this right here is the area that we can figure out. It's half of 28. Half of 28. The half of 28 turns out to be 14 squared. So when we do this, we have A squared plus 14 squared, which is 196, equals 2,500. 14 times 14 is 196. 50 times 50 is 2,500. Subtract 196 from both sides. We have A squared equals 2,304, which looks like a big number, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to use our calculator. In here, we have our value of 2,304. So what we're going to do is do our second command above our x squared, which is right here. See the blue value? That's what we're looking for, square root, so it'll show up on our screen. We just put in our 2,304, and that gives us our value of 48. So A is the square root of 2,304, which happens to be 48. So that's our height right here, is 48. Our base is 28 times 28. 28 times 28 equals 784. We take 784, the area of the base, times the height, which is 784 times 48. So that's our height right here, the one we're looking for. That's our height. We multiply those all together and we get 37632, which seems like a big number, but it doesn't really doesn't really matter. The numbers are what they are. Divide that by 3 because we're looking at the volume of a pyramid. And that gives us a value of 12,544 inches cubed. And that's our final answer. So if you're given the slant height, which is the height of the side, in order to solve for this, we need to use the height of the inside of the pyramid in order to find the area, or excuse me, the volume of our pyramid. Which height is needed for surface area of a pyramid? That's the slant height. Which height is needed for the volume of a pyramid? That's the inside height. The height inside. Okay, so the slant height and the inside height are very different, and one is needed for the surface area needs the slant height, and the other one needs the volume needs the inside height. All right, do the you try and then hand them in to me. Thank you.